What if the last true Jedi wasn't the strongest, but the one who understood failure? Luke Skywalker's story shows that heroism doesn't end with victory, it grows after disappointment. Often remembered as the farm boy who defeated the Empire, Luke's real challenge comes later, when the galaxy expects him to be more than a hero. He doesn't just inherit a lightsaber, he inherits the broken legacy of the Jedi Order. The weight of becoming a Jedi when the Jedi are gone. Luke's Jedi education is unlike anything that came before it. He is not trained in a 1,000-year-old institution with libraries, councils, and rigid traditions. Instead, he learns in fragments, brief lessons from Obi-Wan Kenobi, cryptic warnings from Yoda, and personal experience earned under fire. Luke becomes a Jedi without ever fully belonging to the Jedi Order. That matters because Luke grows up free from the old Order's arrogance, but also without its guardrails. He is improvising a religion while the galaxy watches. Every mistake he makes becomes doctrine by default. This is why Luke's Jedi path is so personal. He isn't following rules handed down by centuries of masters. He's trying to decide what those rules should have been in the first place. And that makes every decision heavier, because if he's wrong, there's no council to correct him. There's only history. Victory didn't end the war, it changed its shape. After the fall of the Empire, Luke doesn't get peace. He gets responsibility. The galaxy expects him to rebuild the Jedi, not as they were, but better, smarter, immune to corruption, immune to fear, immune to failure. That expectation is almost cruel. Luke spends years searching ancient texts, lost temples, and forgotten Force traditions. He's not chasing power, he's chasing understanding. He wants to know how the Jedi went from guardians of peace to unwilling accomplices of tyranny. And the more he learns, the clearer it becomes that the Jedi didn't fall because they were evil. They fell because they were certain. Luke's new Jedi vision is meant to be humbler, more emotionally honest, more human. But humility is fragile when combined with legend. The galaxy doesn't want a thoughtful Jedi philosopher. It wants Luke Skywalker, capital L, capital S, the man who beat Darth Vader. That myth begins to suffocate the man. Ben Solo and the moment that broke everything. Luke's greatest failure isn't that he trained Ben Solo, it's that he believed he could sense and prevent darkness before it fully formed. For one brief, terrible moment, Luke reacts not as a teacher, but as a frightened guardian trying to stop history from repeating itself. That moment lasts seconds, the consequences last decades. Luke does not strike Ben. He does not act on the impulse. But the damage is already done, because Jedi philosophy isn't just about action, it's about intent. Ben sees fear where there should have been faith. Trust fractures. The Jedi Temple burns. Students die. The future Luke hoped to protect collapses in a single night. This isn't a cartoon villain origin story, it's a deeply human one. Luke doesn't fall because he wanted power. He falls because he wanted to prevent loss. And in Star Wars, fear of loss has always been the most dangerous emotion of all. Exile as punishment, and as philosophy. Luke's retreat to Ahch-To is often misunderstood as cowardice. In reality, it's self-sentencing. Luke believes the Jedi cause more harm than good. He believes his own legend creates expectations no living person can meet. So he removes himself from the equation entirely. He doesn't go into hiding randomly. He chooses the birthplace of the Jedi Order itself. Luke isn't running from history, he's burying himself inside it. There's a quiet irony here. Luke, the man who once believed redemption was always possible, now believes an idea itself deserves to die. His exile isn't peace, it's grief masquerading as wisdom. And yes, there's something darkly funny about it. Most people cope with failure by changing careers or moving cities. Luke Skywalker copes by retreating to the end of the galaxy to dismantle a religion. Rey and the question Luke can't avoid forever. Rey's arrival on Ahch-To isn't just a plot device. She represents the galaxy's refusal to let Luke disappear. She believes in the Jedi. She believes in Luke. And she refuses to accept his narrative of inevitability. Luke tries to teach her through rejection. He shows her the failures of the old order. He warns her about power without balance. He argues that the Jedi legacy is one long chain of unintended consequences. But Rey forces Luke to confront a truth he's been avoiding. If the Jedi failed, it doesn't mean compassion failed. It means people did. Luke's greatest struggle here isn't against the First Order. It's against despair, the idea that trying again is worse than not trying at all. The most Jedi act of Luke's life. Luke Skywalker's final stand is not a duel. It's an idea made visible. On Crate, Luke doesn't arrive to win a battle or strike down an enemy. He arrives to change a story. Facing Kylo Ren, Luke shows no hatred, no hunger for revenge. He uses the Force not to destroy, but to delay, not to dominate, but to protect. In doing so, he becomes a symbol again, this time on his own terms. He stands alone against overwhelming power and refuses to escalate violence. No bodies fall, no enemies are slaughtered, yet hope spreads faster than fear ever could. The Resistance survives. Legends are reborn. Children across the galaxy hear a story about a Jedi who faced an army and chose restraint. Luke's death is not defeat, it is completion. He gives everything he has left not to end a war, but to keep the possibility of goodness alive. If the Jedi are meant to be guardians of peace rather than engines of destruction, this is what that role truly looks like. Becoming one with the Force, and with his mistakes. Luke doesn't vanish in triumph or glory. He fades quietly at peace, watching twin suns one last time. The boy who once dreamed of escape and adventure becomes the man who finally understands what more truly costs. His ending mirrors his beginning, closing the circle of his life with reflection rather than conquest. As a Force spirit, Luke does not return as an enforcer or judge. He returns as a guide. He questions instead of commands. He challenges instead of condemns. And most importantly, he reminds others, especially Ben Solo, that identity is not destiny and failure is not final. Luke's final lesson isn't about power. It's about responsibility and forgiveness, extended even to oneself. This is the Luke who completes the Jedi arc. Not a warrior monk obsessed with purity, but a moral compass shaped by experience, regret, and humility. Why Luke Skywalker? Truly is the last true Jedi. Luke Skywalker is the last true Jedi not because no one comes after him, but because no one else carries the full burden of what the Jedi were, what they became, and what they cost. He stands at the intersection of myth and reality, belief and consequence. He is trained by the Old Order's survivors, shaped by its collapse and defined by his attempt to do better. He fails, he retreats, he questions everything. And then, when it matters most, he chooses sacrifice over control. That choice is the purest expression of Jedi philosophy Star Wars has ever shown. Luke Skywalker doesn't save the galaxy by being perfect. He saves it by understanding that power without humility is meaningless, and that hope survives not through domination, but through example. If the Jedi were ever meant to be something more than warriors with glowing swords, Luke Skywalker is proof that the idea didn't die, it evolved, and that's why, even after everything, he remains the last true Jedi. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Star Wars lore and the hidden philosophy behind its greatest characters, make sure you like and subscribe. More videos, more insights, and more legendary journeys are coming, so if you want to be smarter every day, like and subscribe.